A Brush with Fame. One morning, Bear arrived at the big station for his local train. A surprising sight awaited for him. Thomas, Annie, and Clarabelle, surrounded by throngs of people. An important-looking man spoke to Thomas, smiled, then walked away. "Who was that, Thomas?" asked Bear. "The thin clergyman's son," Thomas grunted. "He's an author too, and just released yet another book about me." "You almost sound displeased," chuckled Bear. "I am. All he ever writes about are my misfortunes. The Fat Controller has me running excursions to celebrate the book's release, but the passengers won't stop talking about my blunders. I have triumphs too, you know." "Follies make good fables, I suppose," Bear smiled. "Besides, not all engines get books written about them. You're lucky. Everyone knows who you are." Bear sighed. "I often think no one knows who I am. I'm grateful for the life I have, but sometimes I feel like wallpaper compared to the rest of you. I never even met the thin clergyman's son. I suppose some engines are just more inspirational." Thomas felt very guilty as he watched Bear go, but he knew what he had to do. "Please, sir, Bear deserves a book of his own. I'm sure your readers are eager to hear more about him." "I'd love to write about Bear, Thomas, but at the mercy of the publishers. They want stories focused on you. I've tried to write about other engines, but without your involvement, the publishers won't even entertain the idea. My hands are unfortunately tied." As the author strolled away, a cheeky grin spread across Thomas's face. "I'll give Bear a story, with my involvement to boot." The excursion train started from the big station. Thomas pulled Annie and Clarabelle along the main line, then up to his branch line once they reached the junction. After tea and refreshments at Farquhar, Thomas brought the passengers back to the big station. All the way, the author would give speeches about his books. But because the train started from the big station, Thomas slept at Tidmouth with the big engines. When he returned that evening, he saw Bear asleep in a lonely corner of the shed. "Don't worry, Bear. Tomorrow, your wish will come true." "They want to do what?" Thomas's driver asked the next morning. "It's a special event," Thomas stammered. "The author needs material for his next book, and that is, the Fat Controller, had the idea to stage a mishap. I'll leave with the wrong coaches, and Bear will chase after me with Annie and Clarabelle. The visitors will get to be a part of an actual story. Riveting stuff." "Takes all kinds, I suppose," muttered the driver. Everyone was surprised when Thomas arrived at the platform with different coaches. "Thomas? Where are Annie and Clarabelle?" "Oh, there was a problem with Henrietta's brakes. Toby needed them to take the workmen to the quarry, but we'll meet them at the junction." "I didn't see Toby this morning, though," said the author, confused. "Oh, Well, he was probably here and gone in a flash. Quick for his age, that's our Toby. Come now, please climb aboard. There was no time to question further, so the passengers got in. The guard blew his whistle, and Thomas scuttled away, immensely pleased with himself. Not long after, Bear came looking for his coaches. He was surprised to see Annie and Clarabelle. "What are you two still doing here? Where's Thomas?" "We're wondering the same thing," fussed Annie.
"Worry no wonder. I know where he is. Bear, please take Annie, Clarabelle and I to the junction. It seems Thomas fancies himself an author."
At the junction, Thomas was swarmed by angry passengers.
"We paid for a ticket with Thomas and his coaches. Where are they?"
"Contrary to what you've been told, I don't know," replied Toby, glaring at a blushing Thomas. "So," said the author, "Henrietta's brakes are—"
"In fine form, sir," replied Henrietta. "Unless Thomas knows something I don't."
"Well, you see..." A horn echoed in the distance. There was Bear rumbling down the line with Annie and Clarabelle in tow. The passengers cheered as he drew up to the platform. "I think you forgot something, Thomas."
"Yes,"
came a stern voice.
"the coaches and your common sense. What do you have to say for yourself?"
Thomas sighed and explained his conversation with Bear and the author. "I thought, sir, if I could bring Bear to the author, sir, well, the author might bring Bear into his book, sir."
"I appreciate your feelings, Thomas,"
replied the Fat Controller.
"but need I remind you, we are a real railway that runs on timetables, not tall tales. Such as tricks on the main line are unacceptable. It's clear you cannot be trusted to run these trains."
"Pardon me, sir," said the author, "but without Thomas, how will the passengers get to the junction?"
"Hold on, who's this?"
interjected one of the visitors, pointing at Bear. "I haven't seen him in this book," said another, thumbing the pages furiously. The Fat Controller turned to the author, smiled broadly.
"I have just the ticket."
The next morning, the visitors were thrilled to see Bear arriving at the platform. And they didn't even notice Thomas, who had been relegated to shunting, pushing Annie and Clarabelle behind him.
"Nice to relive the old days, isn't it?"
Thomas harumphed and said nothing. The author had difficulty talking about his new book, for everyone just wanted to know about the new diesel. The guard had to shoo them into Henrietta when they met Toby at the junction. "Well, Bear," chuckled the author, "you might get your book sooner than you think. White publishers will certainly be hearing about you." "Bad luck for Thomas, though," smiled Bear. "He was tired of you detailing his misfortunes. But dare I say, he's written his own fate."